another vlog with all-in-one vlogs. My name is Christine. You can also find me on my Instagram page in Babe in Heels. Wait, did you just burp? like 10 seconds ago. Babe, bless you. Sorry. You can literally hear it clear. Well, sorry guys, that was James burping. This is a video that you guys have been waiting for, and I think everybody just wanted to know more or less what's going on with my diagnosis. It is a very sensitive topic. I'm gonna try to do step by step and give you guys the full story of how everything went down and what the doctor says. On June 16th, let's just say June 16th, 2020, we were on my bed. It was James, Aslan, and I. And Aslan's very hyper. Aslan's my 3-year-old daughter. James and my 3-year-old daughter. She's very hyper, and sometimes she gets very playful where she wants to like rough play people. Like she'll literally climb on people's heads, okay? Like if you go on my lives, you'll know that I say this a lot, but she'll climb on people. She likes to roughhouse, and she's like a little tomboy girly girl, whatever. She has that mixture. But so she had a tablet in her hands, and it was one of those, it's not an old school tablet, but it's like one of those bigger tablets. Like it's colossal in size. Oh, big enough to clock you in the head and give you a chichone, a little bump. So I was sitting on the bed, and she was playing with James, and I guess since I was the nonchalant one chilling, she clocked me in the head with the tablet. She didn't do it with bad intent. She was just being a 3-year-old trying to play, and I guess she just click, and she clicked me right here, and it just like that same day, like she hit me so hard that I literally you know when you watch a cartoon and the cartoon, it goes tweet 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 tweet, and you see the stars around their head. Like literally, I literally saw stars, and I was like, oh my god. I got up and I went to the bathroom, and I felt a little dizzy, and I was like, oh my god, she hit me pretty hard. So I was really upset. I was like, Aslan, you hit me hard or whatever. But I didn't take it too bad because, of course, she's a 3-year-old. So I was like, you can't hit people like that. You could give them like a chichon, a bump on their head. Does anybody else call it chichon? But that night, like whatever, I had the chichon and I put ice, and James was worried. He was like, oh, are you okay? Maybe you should go to the hospital because you could be bleeding internally. And I was like, oh, no, okay, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm just gonna go to sleep it off. Bad idea, guys. Don't do that. Really, do not do that. I was lucky for me, it's okay, but I know of stories of people like going to sleep and not waking up. Like you should check any bump on your head that's hard or causes you to be off dizzy. So anyway, that night she hugged me. She was being all cuddly, and so we all went to sleep. The next day I already started getting signs of like dizziness and just feeling like a little off. Someone asked me a question, and they asked me what 2 + 2 was, I'd probably be like, I don't know what the hell you're asking me, or I can't put it together right now. Like it was just I felt very off. I still held on 2 to 3 days later, and I shouldn't be playing with my health. I'm going to, because what I normally did, like I always try to cure myself at home, try to do it all organic, and like the mother that you know any mom is, you put yourself last. You're just like, okay, my kids need me, I gotta stay home and take care of them. So I got the clock to the head June 12th. June 19th I decide, okay, it's getting serious. I'm getting closer to Aslan's birthday, which is June 22nd. I wanted to do a Mickey and Minnie Mouse birthday party, drive-by or whatever, get together. We're gonna add pictures on this to show you guys the birthday. And so I decide June 19th, I'm going into the hospital. And you know, with the coronavirus, they're not letting everybody go in with somebody. So you gotta go in by yourself to this, you know, to the emergency room. So I go into the emergency room, and right off the bat, I had this gut feeling deep in my gut, like something was wrong. And so I go in there, and I'm sitting in the emergency. A doctor comes in, and he's like, I heard that you got a real hard hit to the head. What happened? And I told him, like, my daughter was playing, she hit me in the head with the tablet, but it's okay, you know, whatever. And he started just like, he was like, squeeze my hands. So I had to squeeze his hands. They make you do like a test like this, to squeeze with all your strength, and then to push forward, pull back the hands, and for your eyes to follow the light. And he's like, something's a little off. He's like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna stop you right here. We need to do an MRI and we need to make sure that you're okay. And I was like, okay. Mind you, let's pause right there. Let's pause right there. MRI is something that it's like something so normal to me. I've done so much MRIs since 2000. Since Aiden was born, I was doing MRIs and I just did not know why. So keep a hold of that. Keep a hold of that information right there. This is gonna blow your mind. Since Aiden was born, so if you calculate 2007, let's fast forward it to 2020, June 2020. I'm sitting there, this guy's like, you need an MRI. I'm like, okay, like nothing. I already know the drill. I put on my gown, I go in there. I know they're gonna give me something through my veins. It's gonna make me feel like it makes you feel like you're urinating yourself. It's not that, it's just the sensation it gives you. So, you know, people freak out. I didn't freak out. I'm like, okay, the machine makes this loud noise. I know the drill. So we're in the MRI, whatever, the norm. I get out of it. I'm already starting to panic a little bit by the way everybody's acting. Like, they know something or they seen something. It was just weird. Like, you know. So I asked the person that was like wheelchairing me back to the room because they weren't letting me walk by myself because I was a little dizzy. So they were like, I was like, is everything okay? He's like, oh, I'm not the doctor, I can't tell you, sorry. And I was like, okay, you know, which is not weird. They're not supposed to really legally tell you, so whatever. So they put me back in my room, and immediately, like, something wrong hits me, right? I'm sitting there for a whole hour by myself, and I just felt like this eerie feeling upon myself, like just like this eerie gut feeling. Like I felt like nervousness, like a super bad nervousness hit my gut. I just didn't feel good. And I text James, and I'm gonna see if James could have put a clip of that text and put it here. But it's saying, I feel like something's wrong. Something's wrong. I feel like they're gonna tell me something bad. So the door opens, and this is 5 minutes after the text, and that doctor that first told me to go into the MRI came in. Super sweet doctor, and the guy was like, you know, like super sweet. He comes in and he's like, so he was like, so something between your MRI from 2018 to now shows that your tumor grew. And I'm sitting there on the bed, and like literally like my whole I felt like my soul like ripped to pieces. Like you know when something pauses, like your whole world pauses, you're like, wait, what did you say? Like I wasn't comprehending what the guy was telling me. I was like, wait a minute, what? 2018? No, what? Wait, we just did an MRI right now. Like we just did an MRI right now. Like, are you sure? Like, and I started like holding my wristband, and it says my name on it with my birthday. I'm like, Christine Sotomayor, like you're, and he's like, Christine Sotomayor, yes, Christine Sotomayor, 12/27/85. Yes, that your MRI is showing that your tumor grew. And I'm like, what tumor? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? A tumor? Where's my tumor? And the guy froze so bad that he just like held the clipboard. He was like, so I'm gonna come right back, okay? And I was like, okay. And like he was holding the clipboard, and he like backs up and goes out of the room and closes the door. So I'm sitting on the bed, and like that made me like want to shit myself. It's literally, you understand what, like, you understand how deep that is for someone to tell you something like that, and then they can't explain it because they know that they kind of effed up in some way because you didn't even know your diagnosis. This doctor was assuming that I already knew, right? So assumingly, because it's on so let's bring it back, it was on medical records. This hospital was doing my MRIs knowing that I had a tumor, watching my tumor the whole time, and never told me about my diagnosis, never told me, hey, girlfriend, you have to get registered every 6 months to go to the doctor to watch your tumor because it's something that you need to watch, okay? It can grow, which it did grow. But see how God's with me, that God, like, that's a miracle in itself, because it grew, but like a little bit, okay? So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I just started crying. Like, I should have had more faith in God. And you know, like those times when you freak out and you go through this severe freak out. Like, my emotions were so bad that I didn't know if I didn't even know if I was breathing right. Like, I just felt hyperventilated. I felt like I didn't want to be by myself. I felt scared. I felt terrified. I felt everything at once. And like, no one could tell me it's gonna be okay, because no one, you know, like, how you say, the doctor was terrified to tell me anything. He was like, oh my God. Like, the way the guy looked was like, oh my God, I just told you something that your doctor should have told you, or they should have told you long time ago. That was the look he gave me. And how he exited the room was like, I shouldn't, like, I wish I wasn't the one to tell this girl. And I was just crying so much. So I text James and I was like, come now, something's wrong. They told me something's wrong. So James calls me and James said, what's wrong? And I'm like, they're saying that I have something in my brain, that the mass in my brain is growing. And he was like, oh my God, I'm going there now. So I don't know what he said or something, but they let him in. And he gets in, and his like face is like, you know, like shocked. So he's saying, yeah, he was shocked. So he comes in, and like, you can tell that it was hitting him too. Like, the emotions were hitting him, and he was like, wow, you know. So we're like, I was crying so much that James was like leaning over on the bed and like holding my hand, and he was like, don't worry, like, I'm gonna be with you, like, it's gonna be okay, or whatever. And he was like very quiet or whatever. And I remember sitting there, like, and I was waiting for this doctor to come back, because like, you don't leave someone after you tell them something like that and just leave them there like in thin air. Thank God James was there when he got there. I'm gonna tell you what happened next. So this guy did not come back. He sent this really tough doctor, like really intimidating looking, like really tough guy, right? He gets in, he's super tall, the guy's super tall, and he's like with his eyes wide open, serious. And I was crying, and he's like, Christine Sotomayor. And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, yes. And I jump up like to listen to him, and he's like, you're going to get transported to another hospital because we cannot help you. And I'm like, okay, where? He's like, you're gonna get to another hospital that knows more about your tumor, okay? And he's like, you have a mass growing in your head, do you understand that? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay, that's all. Like, very firm, very like douchey, to say the least. I don't need to say that as a for a doctor, but I think that the way that doctor handled the situation was traumatic for me and James, because we both looked at each other and we're like, oh my God, what's next, you know? So I remember like looking at James, and I was like, go home, like, I'll text you and I'll let you know what's going on from that. And he was like, no, I'm not going anywhere, I'm gonna stay here with you. And I was like, well, they're not gonna let you get into the ambulance with us because of coronavirus or whatever, and you're gonna have to drive far. Don't worry, just go home with the kids. And he's like, no, your mom's with everybody, and so is grandma. Don't worry, the kids are taken care of. They already ate. It was already like 9 o'clock at night. So I'm sitting there, and I'm still not knowing what kind of tumor I have. I'm not knowing how big it is. I'm not knowing anything. I just know I have a mass growing in my head and that I need to get transported. So me and James are sitting there, and it got so quiet in the room. We're just holding hands or whatever. I'm crying, and mommy, no, he calls her mom. He's like, Rose, there's something going on with Christine. They're gonna transport her from this hospital to another hospital. I'm not gonna say the hospital's name. And they're saying that she has a mass growing in her brain. My mom just started crying. My mom's like, okay. But my mom is such a prayer warrior. Her and her friend Godelia was like, listen, we're not gonna think negative, we're gonna think positive, we're gonna pray, and we're going to just pray that everything comes out good. And thank God for that. they were like, we're gonna pray and we're not gonna think anything negative. And my mom was like, don't think anything negative, don't freak out, because that's the devil wanting you to freak out like this. She's like, have faith in God and his ways and everything. He's gonna take care of you. You're a child of God. So I was like, okay. So I started trying to relax. The ambulance got there, and the doctor, that mean doctor, was like, hey, you gotta go, they're taking you now, whatever. He was super rude. He was in the hallway. He's like, she's crying. Like, of course anybody's gonna cry, like, if they just found out. Like, this is my first time. I remember going to the bathroom, my gown, and like literally hysterical. And like, that doctor was there. He was just looking at me like I was being a nuisance to them, the hospital. And I was just like, whatever. What am I to do? I think I'm only human in some senses, where you're like, you find out something that big, and you're a mom and you have kids. You want the best outcome. You want to know the most you can. You want the most help you can to be good for your kids and your husband, to be, you know, and your family and your mom and your brother. That's when everything started hitting me. I was sitting on that hospital bed, and I want to tell you guys this. One thing I did take away from this whole experience was that you'll never know how important or beautiful your life is until something scary strips you or scares you into thinking your life is at jeopardy. Then you're like, oh my god, my life was so good. Why did I complain about washing dishes or doing stuff for the house? Or why did I complain about these small things when there were things that I should be grateful to be able to do? Because a lot of people cannot do it and they still are grateful for their life, right? So it kind of gives you this sense of like being grateful to being a mom, to being a wife, to being a child, you know, like a daughter. Where you go from here? What's gonna happen? Am I gonna have to fight for my life? Am I gonna have to? And I rebuked it in the name of Jesus Christ. I'm getting transported, and I'm hearing the ambulance or whatever, and they're pulling me out in the stretcher or whatever, and James is right there. Like, he got out his car, he's there, whatever. And it felt good knowing James is there, and I felt like, wow, that's partnership. That's someone I really want as a partner, because at this time frame, like, I really did need him. And I didn't want to say that, you know, like, you don't, I guess I kind of was saying that, because me crying is saying that, right? in some form. So I'm getting out, and then it's like, sir, you're not gonna be able to go. And he's like, well, can I try, whatever. So we're so nice at Baptist South. It was, I think, Baptist South Kendall. And they were like, no, we'll let him in. He can sit here in emergency with her. They test temperature, whatever, and they were like, okay, you can go in. They did a pre-COVID testing to me on the other hospital. I came out negative, so they were like, she's good to go, he's good to go, it's fine. So he was sitting there with me, and I'm falling asleep. We were already hitting 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we're still not getting anything. So we're from 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock that I got to the hospital, to 9, the other hospital, transported, then stood at the other hospital sleeping in ER at 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. and nothing. Kind of woke up, like, I was feeling distressed, you know, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, even I should have had more faith, but it was like I was just super distressed, you know. I was very upset about the news or whatever. So James was sleeping, like, he was sitting in my bed and he was sleeping like this, and I told him, babe, go home, go lay down, go to sleep, go hug Aslan, take care of her, and I'll text you, I'll let you know if anything changes, okay? And he finally was like, okay, fine. Because they were like, listen, we're gonna bring her upstairs, she's gonna go into a unit for oncology for brain, and you can't go up there, sir. You know, go home, go rest, be okay for her when she's ready to come out. So he went home, and he texted me, he called me, he was like, you're okay. He was just checking on me, super amazing. He's very supportive. And so he finally fell asleep, and I knocked out, and around 7 a.m. they transferred me up to the other unit, to oncology, and I met all the nurses there, and they put me in my room. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a very independent person, so looking up and seeing cameras watching me was very uncomfortable for me. I guess, like, that's what was really hitting me hard then, when I was up there by myself, was like, sorry guys, was like the fact that I was being watched from the camera to make sure like nothing would go wrong. It just kind of like freaked me out more. And I guess my nurse is getting annoyed with me because I'm not supposed to get up by myself. I was supposed to ring a bell there, and she's supposed to walk me to the bathroom, because she kind of like told me this right when I got upstairs. She was like, you can't go to the bathroom alone. I have to like sit with you and watch you if you have to poop or pee. And I'm a very private person with using the bathroom in general, like, so that was really rough for me. And they were trying to like shipper me up or something, you know. My mom was calling me. My mom stood up the night with her best friend. They prayed for me the whole night. Her best friend even went to church and prayed for me, and I thank God for that. She's amazing. Like everybody was amazing in the unit or whatever. And I'm sleeping, deep sleeping, but I noticed I'm crying in my sleep, like crying in my sleep, fussy or whatever. And breakfast came. I didn't eat breakfast. Like I felt so ungrateful that I did that, because I don't like wasting food. But they bring eggs and stuff and toast, and I was just like not hungry, and they took it. Like I heard when the lady dropped it off, she waited a few hours, and then she's like, she didn't eat anything. She was telling someone outside the room, and I was in off, so I was very drugged up and very off. I didn't feel like myself, and I was just sleeping. And second of all was like, who can really eat at a situation like that? You're still not knowing what's going on with you. And I was like, so lunchtime came, and there was this older man, Cuban older man, and he came into my room. He was one of my nurses as well, and the window was closed or whatever, and I was sleeping. And he was like, you didn't eat breakfast. And he's like, you have to eat lunch. What do you want to eat for lunch? And I guess I said soup or something. And I was like, soup and lemonade, I guess. Because I couldn't, in that unit, you could have decaf coffee, but you can't have coffee. Like, it just does something for us with the tumor. So he was like, okay. He's like, I'm going to go put in your order or whatever. And he's like, I'll be back. So so I sat up. This was around 11:30. They come back and they bring me my lunch, and I ate the soup. I did the soup, and I drank some of my lemonade, and I put it to the side, and I went to go back to bed. And I had the covers on my head, right, sleeping. But I guess he can hear kind of me crying or whatever. So he comes in and he's like, Mira, like he tells me in Spanish. He's like, listen, you don't want to kill yourself off yet. You're very young. And he's like, and you don't even know. Maybe you can go home. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to go home. I think I'm going to get operated. You know, because I didn't know nothing about tumors. All I know is like, hey, it's in the brain, you're going to die. Like, that's like, everybody thinks that, you know. So my windows were closed. He goes and opens my windows, and he's like, let the sun shine in, amor, and call somebody and talk to somebody and take everything off your minds. I'm gonna be right back. So he leaves and he comes back and he brings me a cupcake. He's like, this is for your daughter's birthday that's coming up. You're gonna go home and you're gonna celebrate with your daughter her birthday, and you're gonna celebrate life, and you don't worry, stop crying. You don't even know what you have yet. Like, you're gonna go home, trust me. He's like, there's people that come with parasite tumors or whatever, and he's like, from what I hear, yours isn't so bad, right? So he starts making me laugh and whatever. And my mom calls me and was like, oh God, you know, she's talking to me about Jesus or whatever, and God, and that I have to have faith or whatever, and that's what he wants, and to show people the faith. So by that time I was already cheered up. I ate the little cupcake, well, some of it. My stomach was still so sour, and I was like, so I started laughing with my mom. Then I was talking to James, and he was like, oh, when are you gonna be able to come home? I'm not sure, whatever. And he was just very quiet on the phone, very pensive, thinking. And I was like, okay babe, I'm gonna let you go, because my mom was ping-ponging between him and me, talking whatever we're talking. I'm talking to my mom. My mom's like, have faith, you're a strong person, you're a child of God, have faith, have faith. And I was like, you know what, you're right. So I sat up, I was on my phone, on Instagram, and just keeping myself preoccupied. An hour later comes in, and the neurosurgeon comes in with a lady. And the neurosurgeon's like, hey, do you want to see your tumor? And I'm like, yes, I do. I do want to see it finally. He's like, okay. So he whips out his phone and he shows me a picture of my tumor, and it's like here-ish, and he's like, oh, so your tumor's there. Your tumor's there. I'm gonna show you where your tumor is. He's like, your tumor is a Subpendymoma. It's located in your 4th ventricle, and so your tumor is very rare. We're still learning about your tumor. He's like, I personally will not operate on you because I am not feeling very confident in how to operate you. He's like, I operated a lot of people, but just so you know, your tumor is very rare and I'm not comfortable with operating you, but I'm going to send you over to a neurosurgeon who's #1 in Miami, who's a dear friend of mine. His name is Dr. Ricardo Comotar. He's going to be able to tell you more, and your his neurosurgeon team is going to be specialized to be able to laser tag team that tumor and get it out your head. And he's like, and you're gonna live a good, complete, normal life. Okay? He's like, so you know, I heard you crying. He's like, and I couldn't wait to talk to you just to tell you that you can go home. He's like, call your fiance, let him know you're gonna be able to go home and you're gonna celebrate your daughter's birthday, because I was telling the nurse, like, I have my daughter's birthday coming up and they're gonna have to do it without me. I was already calling my mom, like, Mom, can you buy the balloons and stuff? Like, this is how I wanted to decorate my daughter's birthday. Sorry guys. And put the balloons up, because I had everything already. I had the Mickey and Minnie or whatever ordered pre-hand, and the cake and everything, and I didn't want to cancel that for her. I wanted it to continue even if I wasn't there. So when he told me that, I was like, oh my god, I'm able to celebrate my daughter's birthday. Like, I was so happy. So I called James and I was like, babe, in 2 hours they're gonna let me go. They're gonna check my vitals again and I'll be able to go home. Like, literally, we cried like babies. We cried so much and we were so happy. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna go get you. So he tells my mom, and everybody's screaming in the house. You hear the kids screaming like, yay, oh my god. My even ass was like, yay, Mama's coming home. And I was like, I'm going home. So the older man, he comes back in the room. He's like, told you, you're going home. Like, he was literally celebrating with me. I'm celebrating. I was like, yes, I'm gonna go home. I'm going home to my family. And he was like, we need to put you in a database so that you can go get checked up every 6 months for your tumor, because if you don't get checked up every 6 months, you'll be considered negligent to yourself. So you promise that you're gonna go get checked up. You need to sign this paperwork. You've seen this paper. So I was signing papers saying that I wouldn't be negligent with myself, and that every 2 weeks I would go get so every 2 weeks I go to, I'm gonna give you the spill down. So there is, I think, 60 different type of tumors in this world, and from what I heard, from what I think it is 60,000 people a year will be diagnosed. I think it's 65,000 people a year will be diagnosed with a tumor. Okay, with a brain tumor. There are so many types. My tumor, which is a Subpendymoma, is a rare tumor. 1% in the world will get it. 1% in the world will get it, and that's it. It's in the 4th ventricle. My tumor is 1 centimeter right now. I'm gonna see if I can put a clipping right here to show you my tumor. And so basically, with my tumor, doctors are still studying it. It's not like they've never seen it really before, but to operate on it, it's very careful. To do anything on it, it's very careful. There's studies from 1980s, because I was speaking to, really didn't have symptoms. To be honest, I didn't have any symptoms that would say I have a tumor. The only thing that I had that was really weird, that me and my family always laugh about and don't think we're crazy, we laugh at each other, we're Latins, is when I eat. My uncle would always notice, my Uncle Jerry, that one time he was sitting across from me, and he's just like a second dad to me. Like, I love him so much. Like, he takes care of us so well. Like, he's always been there for me since a little girl. So So he would always sit in front of me when we're eating family gatherings and talk and laugh, and he noticed that one of my eyes would go lazy, like I couldn't control it. And he was like, oh, something's with your nerves are going bad or something because you can't control it, or it's a lazy eye. We noticed this years ago, but the factor of the matter is that this hospital was very negligent toward me, because I was supposed to be watching this tumor for every 6 months, and if they knew since 2008 that I had a tumor, this is a year after my son was born, then they should have told me. They want to watch it. They said that eventually I will have to operate one day. And the symptoms to that would be, I would be dizzy, I would have stroke-like symptoms, and they would have to operate me one day. I'm not worried. I know God's with me. I want to say this, and I want to make it very clear to everybody, is the fact of the matter is I do have the tumor. I do have the diagnosis. I don't want to be seen as the girl with the tumor. I want to be seen as just regular old me. Why I'm sharing my tumor story, because I feel like there's too many people that are not aware that they could have it, or do have it and feel like there's no one out there like them or with them. And if you have a subpendymoma, if you have any kind of brain tumor, we're all in this together. I know that this is a daily struggle with headaches and dizziness and sometimes sleeplessness. Sometimes you feel like you're not energized enough, but I'm going to tell you this: God is with you, and you can survive anything. You put your heart to it. Your mind is such a powerful tool, and if you feel you know, you're strong enough, you are through God's name. And I just wanted to make that awareness for people who have subpendymomas, that you guys are not alone. I am here with you, and that we're all in this together. Life is very beautiful, and that's what I want to tell you guys. I am not sad. I'm not depressed. Yes, talking about those moments do get me. Sometimes it takes a breath out of me, but I'm a strong person, and perseverance is one thing that I do have. And I like to wrap this video up with, doesn't matter who you are, I'm gonna accept you and love you for you. If you have a brain tumor, you got this. Until next time, guys.